Hey, welcome guys. Well, here I am with Grover, the co-host of, I guess we're calling it the Happiness Project. I didn't make our meeting yesterday, but luckily today, a change of events and circumstances actually led to some positive outcomes. So I guess what we're going to attempt to do right here is we're going to talk about exactly how we want our podcast to translate to you as an audience and exactly what our podcast is going to be about. It seems like from our initial conversation, it's going to be focusing on people, focusing on how to be happy.
Yeah, I think idealistically, if you had a roadmap and say what the podcast is about, I'd like to highlight, and we'd like to highlight people who were maybe going down one road and realized that the road they were going down wasn't what was going to make them happy, and the change positive that they made, the obstacles that came with the change, what did people say to them, who did they have to ignore, because whenever you're trying to make a change for the better, someone's always going to tell you you're crazy. And so, who did they have to ignore, what did they have to do to proceed to be happy, because 9 times out of 10 the people who you think are going to be in your corner are not going to be in your corner. So meet a lot of interesting people. It seems like we have a venue to film at, which is not going to be in my hot ass apartment.
Super hot in here. We're like sweating right now.
Yeah, and so that's going to be good.
And actually, speaking of which, the plan to going to the restaurant where I guess what we would call our initial first guest and as well as our sponsor is how did that even come about? Did you have this all planned for us to even get a venue?
So what I always said was I would always like to do something that was casual, and a lot of times what makes it feel casual is like in a place where people can go and just relax and talk. And the restaurant and question Nueve in San Bruno is a place that I find myself going to maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, having a couple of drinks, eating a little something, and just talking to people all together, talking to new people, meeting people, and being very friendly. It's just the atmosphere in the place. So I've known the owner of the restaurant since I think about 91 or 92. So
you grew up since high school?
Since right after high school, so probably 93 actually. So light years for decades I've known the guy, and I've always been impressed because he's had jobs, but his focus has always been working for himself, being an entrepreneur, but a small business entrepreneur. So not an entrepreneur in the way that I think it's really popular right now. People are like, okay, I'm going to build this multi-billion-dollar company and conquer the world. And that's realistic if that's what you want to do. But also, we need restaurants, We need we need somebody to fix something. And these small business entrepreneurs are actually the engine of the financial country.
Service-based.
Yeah, service-based. That's what America does. America does very little manufacturing now. For better or for worse, that's just the reality of a global economy. Something that I find very interesting is that people don't understand the hard work it takes into it, but also the happiness that you can get from hard work. And so I tell everybody, you're not going to be happy without taking a risk. You're not going to be happy without sacrificing something. You're not going to be happy without somebody telling you, what the fuck are you doing? Just go the safe route. 9 times out of 10, when you're going the safe route, you're doing something that someone told you to do, and you feel miserable inside. And you see it. The evidence is overwhelming. You see it all the time. You see people who, for instance, I worked at Safeway Food and Drug before, years ago, decades ago. And you see people who work at Safeway, 40 years at Safeway, they retire a year later, they drop dead. So that means they spent all of their time on this earth for 40 years working at a job that they vocally told you they hated all the time. And so...
And I can second that. I can back that up. Yeah.
And people drop dead. And so if you do something your whole life that sucks, you're diminishing your life. You're probably shortening your life. Then you get out and you die. So how is that happiness? And I know people make sacrifices. Like, I'm going to make the sacrifice to put my kid through school. I'm going to make sacrifices to make sure my family has everything. But what are you sacrificing to do that? And are you really helping your family? For instance, I know somebody who made a supreme sacrifice, was never home, worked 13 hours a day to make sure that his kids had a great financial future. Without saying any names, this individual's children are absolutely wild. They missed their father. They weren't able to They needed some advice. They didn't have it. They felt neglected, and one of them got into drugs. The other kid actually just wound up following the same footsteps and being miserable. So you're perpetuating a cycle of misery by doing something that society told you to do, and it's not your fault. You're being a good soldier. You're following in line and you're doing something that society tells you to do. Society tells you, 100%, society tells you to stand up in the mirror, look at yourself in the mirror and say, fuck you, I'm going to do what society wants me to do. Fuck what you want. Fuck what makes you happy. I'm going to marry the person society tells me to marry. Maybe if there's a racial boundary in your family or what the society told you, don't marry this person outside of your race. Fuck being happy. I'm going to marry this person that society tells me to. It's less now, but back in the day, it's like if somebody wanted to marry someone of their same sex or someone wanted to be involved with the same sex, society told them, fuck you, fuck what you want, marry somebody else, and then you have people who are living their life unhappy and not being honest to themselves. So the Happiness Project is pulling all the layers away and just being honest. What makes you happy honestly? And what are you willing to sacrifice for that happiness? I know I've had to sacrifice some financial security to be happy, but literally I went from being in a situation where my health was a lot worse than it is now to just relieving the stress on myself and having blood pressure that's under control, blood sugar that's really under control, like from pre-diabetic to like not diabetic levels, cholesterol that's under control, doing something amazing, sleeping more than 7 hours a night. Amazingly enough, I thought about 15 years ago you were soft. You weren't a real worker. You weren't a real manager. You were shit if you slept over 6.5 hours a day.
But if you're basically not getting enough sleep to repair yourself, you're literally killing yourself.
It's one of the fastest ways to kill yourself. So, what do people do? They mess around and they drink themselves to sleep. That's not restful sleep. They do drugs that maybe they shouldn't do. And by the way, some drugs are great, but but they wind up doing drugs they shouldn't do to try to fill this void in you. And so, one thing I'll tell you, and I've said this 100 times, if that void is there, if that void of happiness is there, there's nothing you can do to fill it until you find out what's going on with yourself. You can't fuck 30 or 40 different people to fill that void. You can't fuck your way to it. You can't eat your way to it. You can't spin your way to it. You can't earn your way to it. The only way you can do it is to strip everything down and find out what makes you happy and pursue that. And it's the hardest thing you're going to do in your life. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But I really think that part of the societal woes today, if you look at people who are just angry, people who just like politically, you're on this side or that side, there's no compromise. It's because people aren't happy. When you're not happy, you don't listen to anything. When you're not happy, you only see things one way, and it's your way or the highway. When you're not happy, you want to demonize everyone else because you're so miserable inside. I literally see people say, if this person votes a different fucking way, that they're evil and they should be exterminated. That's amazing.
That's
Someone has
free will, yeah.
different of opinion. So, people have to vote their interests. People have to vote what makes them happy. And if it's different from your opinion, if you think that that person doesn't deserve to be on this earth, you have a problem. And the problem is deep-seated within you, not within anyone else. I go so far as to say, and people say it's crazy, but I say, you know what? If someone doesn't want to like me because of the way I look, that's their loss. I don't need to be around them. I don't need to have them be around me. I don't need to let them impede on my happiness. I don't want to impede on their happiness. It's your right not to like me because I'm black. It's your right not to like me because I'm heavier than you. It's your right not to like me because I don't fit the mold of what you think I should fit. That's fine. But let me tell you something. You are doing yourself a disservice by cutting people out of your life. And if you strip away all of the things that make you unhappy, you'll find out that you're totally and completely full of shit and everybody has something to offer you. And so that's what the Happiness Project is about. I want to talk to different people. I want to talk to entrepreneurs. I want to talk to martial artists. I want to talk to people who are in the fitness.
Different all walks of life.
I don't care what they're doing. I don't care. And I'm not worried about how much money someone makes. Let me tell you the American bullshit dream: money equals happiness. First of all, making a lot of money has never been an American dream. It's never been an American dream to make a lot of money. I know people say, oh, well, this guy, he has this or he has that and this and that. That's the capitalistic dream to keep you working in that factory. That if you keep working in the factory, maybe, absolute maybe, you'll be able to earn what this person has. But guess what? Chances are you're never going to earn that. Chances are that you can work as hard as you want. You're not going to be Bill Gates. You're not going to be Oprah Winfrey. You're not going to be Jay-Z. You're not going to get rich or die trying. You're not going to be 50 Cent. You're not going to be these new cats who wear skinny jeans and wear purses around and you know, make a bunch of money. You're not going to do that. Chances are that your wealth has to come within the happiness that you have in yourself and the experiences that you have around your family and around your friends and around people you love. And if you do that, you will be much better. And I guarantee you, sooner or later, your happiness will become monetarized. Your happiness, you'll do something and you're going to do it so well because you're going to have such a passion that someone is going to want to either be around you because you're doing it, give you an opportunity because you're doing it, or pay you because you're doing it. And that's the most important thing that I can tell anybody. The last thing that I want to say about that, just the American dream, is that the American dream has never been to have a lot of money. The American dream has been to have the time to spend the money. And that's what people miss. So you could make $6-7 million a year. If you don't have time, it doesn't make a difference what you have. You can have $20 million a year. If you don't have time to do it, then what is the $20 million for? The $20 million, sure, you're going to set up generational wealth. You're going to set up your kids and your grandkids. Excellent. But as far as your life and your happiness, what are you doing to enjoy that? And you're not going to be doing anything. What you're going to be doing is working harder to earn more money so you can have money to earn more money so you can have money. You're going to be in a circle of fuckery. You're never going to get what you want in life.
So it's almost increasing like an unknown variable of you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You're not even thinking about yourself. So you're basically feeding into something that is unknown to you, and actually you're not really happy doing it.
That's why they call it the rat race. Mm-hmm. Rat race. That's why they call it the hamster wheel. You know, you're going someplace, you don't know where you're going, and you're just going to keep going.
So it's basically you're stuck in a logic loop, insanity.
And you're never going to get out of it. So I tell you, look, I have a lot of respect for people who go and they bust their ass on an 8-hour heavy day and they go home. I got a lot of respect for these entrepreneurs that burn the midnight oil and they're working towards a goal. But if your goal, if you're doing, isn't making you happy, then you're wasting your time, you're wasting your life. And at the end of it, if you're not going to have time to spend with your family, your friends, if you're not going to travel, the most depressing thing I can tell you, talking to somebody who made millions of dollars, they have cancer, they're going to die, and they're telling me, man, I wish I would have seen Europe.
Regrets, basically.
And I'm like, holy shit. You got $5 million in the bank. It don't mean shit right now. You got stage 3 colon cancer.
Well, there is a fact that they talk about, like, when old people are asked as they're on their deathbed, what are the things that they basically regret? Basically, regret is what they always come up with, are the things that they haven't done and that they should have done.
Yeah.
And it's sad. What were they doing with their time?
But very rarely do people regret experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. I'll break it down to the most, juvenile of man thing. There is not one time that I met a woman and spent time with her dancing or hanging out and it didn't work out with us and I never look back at it and say, oh shit, I regret this great time I had with this person because we're not together. What I regret is not going over to talk to the lady. What I regret is having a chance to, maybe go to Brazil, seeing some plane tickets and having some friends say, hey man, let's go to Brazil, and me saying, no, it's just not the right time we can go. I regret missing a good friend of mine's wedding years ago. It actually ended our friendship.
Wow.
And
okay.
I went to my job at the time, and this is what really started me down the road of saying, fuck working for other people if they're not going to let you be happy. I went to my job at the time and I said, hey, I really, I need to go to my friend's wedding. It's in Mexico. I need 4 days off. And the person looked at me and says, well, earlier this year, you put in a vacation request to go to overseas. And I said, yeah, I put in a week and a half to go overseas. I still have this much time left. He's like, I'm denying this one. That's too much vacation for you. You've been here you haven't been here long enough at our company.
So basically, in a way, you were in cage. You were I don't even like saying, but you're a form of bondage.
Yeah. Well, look, whenever you're working for someone, you are selling your labor to them. And you're selling your labor to them at a very inexpensive price because there's not enough money to pay you for your time. Time is a very precious commodity. With time, you can do anything in the world. If you have somebody who's 75 years old, and you take that knowledge of a 75-year-old person, and you give them another 35 years and able-bodied, they're going to achieve amazing things. You don't have enough time to do what you want anyway. And so you have to, like, you know, you hear all of these metaphors. You know, you put a bunch of things, you know, a bunch of pebbles around these big golf balls and what you need, and you can't get all the pebbles in, but you take these pebbles out, you can get more golf balls in there, whatever metaphor they have. But what it really comes down to is you have a bag and you have to go somewhere, and you have to take your underwear, you have to take all the important things with you. And you look at this bag with all of these important things that you want to take. And once you get all of this stuff in, you're like, damn, I barely got room for my passport, my wallet. I don't have room for some important stuff that I gotta have. I gotta have this important stuff I don't have enough room for. Why is that? Well, look in your bag. You don't need all of this shit you're taking. You don't need 7 pairs of pants. You need a pair of jeans and some shorts. You got plenty of room. You have room to do it. You have time to do it if you prioritize and put what's really gonna make a difference in your life first, you know? I actually, you know, people are going to hate this, but I think most people waste their time going to college. Most people go to college for something that their parents want them to go for. And then when they get out of college, they're like, oh, I don't want to do this for a living.
Oh, and just let it be known, Grover has his degree.
Yeah.
What, you have
I have an undergrad. Undergrad and working towards a grad. Almost. But I can tell you, I never went to school for any other reason except my family wanted me to go to school. You know, you have to understand. I'm a little older than probably the average person is going to see this, but when I was about time for me to go to school in the early '90s, there was still like, you know, you're just, you know, 30 years from integration. You couldn't go to every school, you know, 35 years ago in the country as a black person. A lot of black people didn't have an opportunity to go to school. They didn't have the opportunity to go to junior college. You know, I mean, a lot of my family members went to college. So that's very important. So I'm not the first person to go to college or anything like that. Nothing heavy. Most of my cousins went to school. Most of my aunts and uncles have some form of education. So that's understandable. But if you're going to school and you're concentrating on something that somebody else wants you to do, and it's not going to fulfill you, then you're wasting your time because you're not going to do it. Also, that's a tough decision for an 18-year-old to make. What's your major's going to be? You know, I mean, I think this is the way we do the American educational system, that I think that you should go through, you know, if I had it my way, I would say you go through your grad and your undergrad, you get all your general education, you get your critical thinking, you get everything, and then you spend a year on your specialty, and that 5th year on your specialty is what actually sends you to, if I had my way to redo it, that would actually send you into your career.
I would like to add, what about something like you're actually interested in and want to learn about?
You know, so here's the biggest thing. The things that you're interested and you want to learn about, you'll learn it outside of school. Mm-hmm. Like, people who want to learn how to code and work on computers. You know, I was talking to this guy when I was working at a startup in Silicon Valley. And I said, what school did you go to learn how to do this? He said, I didn't go to school to learn how to do this. I wanted to learn how to do it, so I learned. So if you want to learn how to work on cars, you're going to work on cars. If you want to learn how to build things, you're going to build stuff. If you want to learn how to tinker with things, you're going to do it.
Well, actually, okay. Well, good point here. He is an instructor for martial arts, and you basically went out of your way, took all the necessary steps, been in it for about 10 years. You were doing it actually before as a child from our conversations before, but now this is actually part of your way to earn some kind of income.
Yeah, well, what happened with martial arts is that I had taken martial arts as a kid. I had taken martial arts basically to stay out of trouble. And I thought it was cool. I mean, everybody loves Bruce Lee. Everybody loves Chuck Norris. And I thought that shit was the coolest shit on earth. I was never into the American Ninja phenomenon. I thought that was some corny shit, you know, with all of the ninjas floating and stuff like that. But I thought just the basis of martial arts, just doing something, being an uncommon person, that not everybody can do this, and not everybody's going to have the discipline to do this. I thought it was cool. And living in the San Francisco Bay Area, there are tons of martial arts schools. I mean, the West Coast probably has more martial arts schools than anybody else in the world. And so it was just awesome. So at South San Francisco Boys Club had a judo program that I was taking, that instructors from Cahill's Judo and San Bruno would go over there and they would do it. I think these were people who were like high up under Professor Cahill. And so I took judo there. I took it for a few years. And then I started taking Okinawan karate. But I was doing this stuff as a kid. It was very, very financially tough. The Boys Club, of course, was free. When that program shut down, then Okinawan karate, I had like a paper route. I would clean up there. Then I started working at a movie theater, just anything to pay for it. Then I had to start buying my own clothes, so money got tight. I started boxing. And boxing, someone will always teach you, hold pads for you, give you a little pointers. Started going, kept going, and until I felt like I was proficient. Started kickboxing, and then I kind of stopped. And I stopped because I let things that weren't going to make me happy get in the way of it. I stopped because I was a manager at a Safeway. I was working 13, 14 hours a day. And I just didn't have
overnights
time.
too, right?
Yeah. Well, overnights, during it, and
Yeah.
whatever schedule they wanted you to work, you just work. As a manager at Safeway, your schedule could change Monday, and you could go in Monday and they say, hey, take the rest of the day off. And this doesn't mean really take the rest of the day off. It's like take the rest of the day off and come back tonight at midnight, and you're going to work midnights for the next
I did that too,
5
so
days.
I'm sure a lot of you guys probably have done something like that.
It's just ridiculous, right? Like literally, you have no choice. If you say no, they'll probably let you go. And now you've got yourself financially involved in this company. You got to go. You got to, because you maybe have bills, maybe you brought a car, maybe you did this and that. So now, fuck your happiness. Just do what we say.
Because you're investing time to a company, to their values.
Yeah, and the company just cares about making money. Mm-hmm. Which, hey, there's nothing wrong with making money. I'm a capitalist like everyone else, but I'll tell you, if that company's values don't align with your values, you should not be with that company. And you shouldn't be loyal to a company who's not loyal to you, period. And so I stopped martial arts for the longest time. Then I wanted to do martial arts again, so I went to, first thing I did was some Muay Thai camps. I was going to Thailand, and I just went and worked out a couple of Thai places. I did some Muay Thai camps. And at that time, it's been a long time since I did any kickboxing, and it was super tough, right? But I kept going back, I don't believe I paid people for that torture, but I did. And then a few times for that, I came back and I started taking Aikido Jiu-Jitsu in San Francisco at the Yachigusa Ryu Aikibukai, which was a really interesting school because they had a lot of the Aiki stuff, which almost looked like Aikido, where you're like, why is this person falling down? Mm-hmm. And then they had the hardcore Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, the standing locks, the things that really hurt and you know why they're falling down. So the idea was that for that martial arts school, have the theory of why people fall down in the kazushi and the off balancing, and then have the lock and the pain compliance, so you could work your way up to the being super graceful, but still have a self-defense base with the pain compliance and the locks immediately. So I really liked it. I did that for quite some time. I want to say, well, I mean, first of all, I know I went for about 6 hours a week that I was taking for Yachigusa Ryu Aikibukai. And after a certain amount of years, it's really funny with traditional martial arts systems. They kind of just walk up to you and tell you, like, where you are. And so one of the person, Dojo Cho, which was the instructor, he was going to be testing for his, I think it's 3rd degree black belt. And he walked up to me, he says, you've been doing this for a long time, you probably should be a brown belt by now. And I was like, well, whatever you guys decide. I'm just content being the world's best white belt. Because, at the time, we didn't even wear a gi, we wore a hakama and a kimono. But if I went somewhere with a gi, I would just put on a white belt.
Oh, those are uniforms, martial art uniforms.
Yeah, martial arts wear hakamas, traditional, looks like pants.
For Aikido. For
yeah.
That one, yeah.
And a kimono is like just at your top. And so then I got a list of a lot of things that I knew how to do, some of the things I didn't know how to do. But I started working on it, and probably about 4 months later, I was like, you're testing for your black belt. So that's how I, got the black belt. Then I had achieved black belt in other martial arts systems, but this one was kind of special because I really grinded out, and like we trained and holidays we trained at nighttime. We sparred. We did all types of stuff. So that was good. And then I sat there and I helped teach around. I was kind of like the senpai in the school, meaning that the senior student.
So with that was actually spurring a lot of like internal work that made you gravitate into the new kind of mindset you've adopted.
Well, I think I always had the mindset to do stuff. I always didn't mind doing more stuff, but it was probably the first time in years that I did something purely for myself to make myself happy, and at the same time I was making myself better.
Personal development.
Yeah, at the same time. And so that's a lot of times where like people don't know, like if you really hit the sweet spot to making yourself happy, you're doing yourself a ton of good too. So, you know, just to say, like, if making yourself happy is doing like an 8-ball of Coke every weekend, you probably shouldn't do that. You probably shouldn't make yourself happy like that. You probably should seek some help. But
That goes into like different kind of realities you're experiencing when you're on an altered substance. Oh, a substance that altered your state of mind, basically. Yeah.
But if you're making yourself happy is by doing something that's uncommon and that's difficult and that's challenging and that
Rewarding.
No one's going to say it's bad for you, then you should really aggressively do it. With that, then I started taking Jeet Kune Do and Filipino martial arts from the Inasano system of martial arts.
And Jeet Kune Do was created by who?
Jeet Kune Do is Bruce Lee's martial art, and a lot of different theories on Jeet Kune Do, because there's original JKD, which my boys over in Oakland and Hayward, and they're awesome martial artists, and they focus on the JKD as it existed in the Bay Area. There's a Seattle group of JKD that's really like a lot of trapping, a lot of Jun Fan trapping, which is Bruce Lee's trapping. Then there's, you know, what I'm affiliate with is more the LA schools with Dan Inosanto, which Dan Inosanto was with Bruce Lee as a student at the end of his life. And then, from my understanding, what Guru Dan wanted to do was not really like propagate Jeet Kune Do in a way that he didn't want to make a lot of money off of it. So he was also Filipino martial arts, so he started doing Filipino martial arts, and people would beg him, because he was in movies with Bruce Lee. Show us some JKD. So he started doing more JKD. But Guru Dan really kind of like a catalyst for people to do multiple martial arts, to do mixed martial arts. So with that being said, spending a lot of time on martial arts, which is a big part of my life, so bear with me. With that being said, I started doing JKD and Kali, kickboxing, more like a blend of kickboxing, a blend of what we call STX, which is Savate, Muay Thai, and pure boxing, and kind of really just started putting things together and focusing more on self-defense aspect of it and not the sport aspect of it. So with Aikido Jiu-Jitsu, you would do a lot of classical stuff, and the locks were really effective, but you would kind of like have to get yourself in a position to grab that lock. It would be hard for me to defend myself grabbing the lock. I would have to hit first and open it up and soften them up. So I would use like some boxing stances, but at one point when I would grab the lock, I would stand up straight and, you know, make yourself more of a target. With JKD, kind of gave me a body posturing to get in and out of that. So I started advancing in JKD. I had a black belt in Okinawan karate, a black belt and a black belt and instructor certificate in Aikido Jiu-Jitsu, and working towards my instructor certificate at the same time with JKD and Kali. So I was doing a lot of martial arts at one time, and I was really, really enjoying it. And I still do a lot of martial arts. Going to that, I met probably a very, second or third most important person in my martial arts career, which was Roger Agbulo. So just to unpack all of my mentors, because this is important. It's always important that you give credit to people. So under the Okinawan karate, it was Sensei Williams Harrison, who was just like a neighborhood friend, and he died tragically in the late 90s. But he was a full contact fighter, kind of a non-traditionalist. He would show you a form, and then you would just spar, and you would just show your punch, you spar, show your form, you spar, show your kick, you spar. So it was really geared towards fighting. The Aikido Jiu-Jitsu was under Kiyoshi Gary Morrow and Sudoshi Glenn Hunt. And so those two guys, I gotta give them a lot of credit because they were very open to like just me doing whatever I wanted to do. Gary had did some Serrano Kali, he had did some Kempo striking, he had a really deep combination. Gary had a deep understanding of how to move people around and hit them. Glenn had did Muay Thai, had did some combat Aikido, so you had a lot of kind of like a mixture of martial arts there. Then going into the JKD and Kali, who I'm still a student under Brenda King. Brenda King's out of Redwood City, and I teach alongside with her at Peninsula Self-Defense in Redwood City, which is a BJJ school. We run a stand-up program there. Brenda King was a senior full instructor under Paul Vunak, who, claim to fame is like instructing, doing some instruction work for the Navy SEALs, and an instructor under Dan Inasano, an instructor of Filipino Panantukan, Silicon, Dirty Boxing, pro coach in CSW, which is combat submission wrestling under Eric Paulson, who was the first American light heavyweight champion in Japan for mixed martial arts and Shudo. Also kickboxing, STX kickboxing under Eric Paulson. She also has a black belt, and she has a couple of black belts, and black belt in Taekwondo, a black belt in Tang Soo Do, and K1 kickboxing. She's a black belt, and for like 5th-degree black belt in Kempo. She's been doing it for 40 years, martial arts. So under Brenda King, really like just seeing someone do so much different stuff and making it all work together. That's what I started working towards, and like I was always encouraged. Then I met Roger Agbulos through Brenda King, which is Lamiko SD Kali, and Lamiko SD Kali are combatives, and basically Roger Agbulos is a member of the Backyard Gang from Edgar Salite. Really going into deep martial arts nerddom here, but just I'm proud of my lineage. I'm proud of people who I've trained with, and I'm an instructor under Roger Agbulos. I'm an apprentice instructor under him, which really makes me feel good because he wasn't giving out a lot of apprentice instructorship, maybe 3 or 4 of them, but 5 years of studying with him, 5 years of traveling back and forth, seminars, and just really dedicating myself and understanding the craft. So that's good. Very pleased with that. And all of this is part of my personal development. Studying with Sensei Eric Paulson for combat submission wrestling and STX kickboxing. All of this stuff, just kind of putting it all together into what I am now. So what I realized was that this stuff is a key to happiness because I'm improving myself daily, but also it allows me to share my knowledge with other people. And when I say that,
providing service and value.
Yeah, and so when I say that, it's like I teach a kids martial arts class. In my kids martial arts class, I have a kid with severe ADHD, or parents said, his parents said. But he lines up and he does a great job in the class and he gets rewarded. We have people with different body shapes, different body types. People got bullied. I have a kid with cerebral palsy who's in the class. I've had kids with slight cerebral palsy or any developmentally disabled kid. If you can get up and if you can walk around the classroom, and we'll work with you. And that's very important because that's adding to their happiness, but it's also adding to my happiness. So,
and you're empowering them, they're empowering you. It's just this whole cycle.
It's really good, and it also automatically starts breaking down the societal bullshit that you can't do something. And so you have a kid with cerebral palsy, and everyone's going to tell that kid what they can't do. But you got to start telling kids what they can do. Or you're going to have a bunch of people who grow up unhappy, and then people who grow up unhappy do stupid shit like the stupidest shit in the world is this current times when it came out that kids were being separated from their parents at the border. Right? So let's really unpack this. Everybody will say it's wrong that they shouldn't be separated from their parents. Besides it being wrong, let's talk about a liability of, once you take somebody into custodianship, custody means you're their custodian, means that you're responsible for their well-being, especially a kid. You got to bring them back with their parents, you got to do this, it's just a liability for the country to do that.
And creates trauma too, in the personal lives. And
well, I'm not even talking about what's going on with the kid yet. I'm just talking about, let's just look at this as a business. That's tough. Okay. You're taking on the liability. Now let's look at this from the kid. Why do the kid's already gone? It's not the kid's fault that they're coming to America. It's a kid. If you want to say it's a kid's parents' fault, that's fine. But you should never take out shit on kids because of their parents. That's an asshole way to be. I sincerely believe that the unhappiness that people had in themselves lashed out at those people and say, you know what, well, I mean, I seen statements that people said, well, you know, just kids are lucky we're not poking them with sticks. Kids are lucky we're not shooting them. Kids are lucky we're just not dumping them in the desert. It's like, hold on
That's
a fucking
some dark
second.
energy, yeah.
Yeah, hold on a fucking second. You're that unhappy? You hate someone that much that you're okay with that with a kid? And all of this bullshit that, this is what I heard. Obama did it, and I heard that George Bush Sr. did it, and I heard that Clinton did it. So this is what I'm going to say. That doesn't make it right. Like, where in the world do you see something that's wrong with children? It's like if I went to a place and everybody was molesting kids, and I said, well, shit, they're doing it, I might as well do it. The people in front of me did it. You would say, no, that person's a monster and he should be shot. But it's still the same idea. It doesn't make a difference who did it before. If you see something wrong, you fucking fix it. And the only time that you're going to let stuff go like that, or you're going to think that people deserve it, if you have a self-hatred and so unhappy with yourself that you're actually thinking that it's okay that they're suffering. And that's why I think that this country has a happiness problem. And that's why I want to do the happiness project. Because I think that people have forgot what it is to be happy and centered. And they're just letting the darkest parts of their body take over.
And then what that happens is it actually reflects out into your reality. Your subconscious actually comes out to the conscious.
Yeah.
And it gets reflected. I mean,
it happens all the time. Look. You walk around, right, and you always say, man, what's wrong with this guy? Oh, he's just bad energy. He's just not feeling good. Well, you never know what happened. He could have found out he's dead, or mom had cancer, or somebody's sick, something's going on bad in his life. But you could see that. Well, if you go through a lifetime of that, man, you're going to be toxic to everyone around you. And your opinions and your formation and your formative opinions of the world are going to be fucked up. Going to be fucked up. So I'm going to say this. I have very conservative friends. I have some liberal friends, right? Me, myself, I've always been on a conservative side. But I'll say this. Somebody will come to me with something conservative or a conservative mind state, but I'm okay with myself enough to listen to them, debate them in a logical way, and say, okay, look, whether you're right or wrong, it's okay. I have people who are super liberal, and I look at them like, man, I just don't think we can give away the whole shop to everybody. I don't think the country can work like that, but I'm going to listen to your opinion, because you know what? There's some liberal ideals that fucking work. I'm going to tell you something. Social Security is a liberal ideal. If you don't have Social Security, you're going to have people who are about 50 years old realizing that, you know what, my life is fucking over in a few years. I'm not going to have a safety net. I don't have enough money. They're going to start robbing people. That's the way human beings work, right? It's not our responsibility to take care of them, but if you're paying into a system and you keep paying into the system, it's our responsibility to make that system work. And so that's just where we're at. And, you know, I know it all circles back to martial arts because it all starts with a kid not being told that they can't do something. Being told what they can do and letting them know that they can do anything, but they got to work around it. And so that's why martial arts is important to me. Currently, I have developed a system called Guerrilla Combatives, which I'm a big guy, as if anybody's looking at this, they can see. I'm also a big old blind guy, so I'm going to put on my glasses because I can't see anything around me. But I will tell you that Guerrilla Combatives is based about having people who are smaller use leverage to take care of people who are bigger. And so it's a combination of boxing, standing grappling, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, just everything, every tool you can to use, dirty fighting, clinch fighting, infighting, Pentateuch and Sotokan, knife, whatever, anything you could do to gain an advantage, to help people defend themselves. And I can tell you that it's probably one of the better things I've done in my life because I just get to teach people stuff and I get to hang around people I like. Mm-hmm. Which I think, you know, that's part of the American dream too. So like I said, the American dream is not about having money. The American dream is about having time to spend the money. But the American dream is about spending time with people that you like.
Finding fulfillment.
And not spending time with a bunch of people that you look at and you go home and you need to take a shower just because you're in their presence. You know, maybe that person has a funk on them. Maybe they haven't found their happiness. But, you know, you can help those people. Hopefully they'll find their happiness. But you also got to be careful of who you hang around with because that will get on you and you can't get that funk off you. So I guess that's the martial arts in a nutshell. what I'm saying.
It makes sense because I mean it feels into your personal development. Actually, you took the mind shift set saying, I can't do this job anymore. It's detracting away from my happiness. I want to start studying martial arts, and you built the time to be able to go into that. And as you went into that, now years on, you've developed new skills. You created your own program, and you are now, in a way, you are an entrepreneur.
Well, yeah, but you can say entrepreneur, but I just better say this. I run a one-man small business.
Mm-hmm.
And I contract myself out to people, and I'm always willing to help. I'm always willing to donate some time to help people. Like, I think that everybody who runs a martial arts school, they should have a program where they should take 5 foster kids who have it shitty and teach them martial arts. Everybody who runs a school, I don't care what martial art it is, I don't care. And by the way, boxing is an American martial arts. Wrestling is an American martial art. So I don't want, everybody that's like, well, I don't know, I only box, and maybe they meant Taekwondo schools. I mean, everybody. You should donate an hour a week to teach these kids something and have them look forward to something.
Discipline, building self-confidence.
Or be somebody who keeps a promise to them and who doesn't bullshit them.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of kids, they find adults are just full of shit. Something else that I'm near and dear to. When I grew up in the heart of the drug war with Just Say No, where they said, you smoke one joint and you're going to be a crackhead for the rest of your life. You do this and you're going to addict it ever. And of course, we knew it was bullshit because I knew people who smoked weed every day since the 60s and they were like productive members of society. And I'm like, well, how is this possible that we're saying that? And what really happened was that when you lie to people and you just don't reason with them and tell them the truth, and you don't say, like, you know what, taking drugs of any type is a slippery slope and you got to be careful. But some drugs have a positive effect. Some psychedelic drugs have a positive effect that it makes you self-reflective and it makes you look at
They're
yourself.
using it for testing on therapy and things like that.
Yeah.
TSD. And
But they've always used it for testing on therapy. I mean, that's the thing. Like,
and life therapies too.
LSD was developed for therapy.
Mm-hmm.
LSD was developed as a treatment for people who are psychotic. So all of these things, it's always been like that. But marijuana is the one. I mean, anti-inflammatory, anxiety relief. And all of this bullshit. Oh man, these people smoke marijuana and they don't do nothing. Well, let me tell you something. The laziest times of my life have been when I was not smoking marijuana, when I was just a sloth. The worst eating of my life, I did not smoke marijuana. The worst eating of my life, I'm talking about a chocolate cream pie a night and a 12-pack of beer. He was here for it.
Liver Olympics. That's what we used to call them.
Fried chicken, deep fried thighs,
and deep fried vegetables. So I mean,
just eating everything and it just totally fucked up. And that's like, I wasn't smoking weed then.
That was pure mindset.
I was just like unhappy with where I was, and unhappy where I was with life and not doing anything for myself. As soon as I started doing things.
So we ran out of battery. We got a new one in. We're gonna wrap this into what exactly the Happiness Project is. We're creating great content, unexpected, but this is definitely a preview of things to come. And so, yeah,
So the Happiness Project. If I had my choice, and all things were perfect in the world, and it never rained on Sundays and all of this crazy shit, I would say that I want to talk to people who've made the change in their life from being a corporate slave or just doing something that they don't want to do, chose happiness and how did it affect their life and what did they do to do it. I want to focus on small business owners because being a person who believes in the engine of the country and want to see the country do well, I want to talk to people and say, hey, not only that were they able to do what made them happy and find fulfillment, but they're able to make a living at it. Yeah, it's going to be harder than being in a corporation, but I think that's pretty cool too. I also want to talk to people from different walks of life, not just business owners, but maybe people who could have had a corporate job but chose to be a teacher. People who teach kids with disabilities. I think that
passion and purpose.
That's a job that makes them happy. because they go home probably with tears in their eyes sometime when they see something bad happen, and just to be able to make a difference in someone's life every day, I think it's awesome. I want to talk to a bunch of martial artists, a lot of my friends. Hopefully I'll get some really popular martial artists on the podcast. People I know, if I can get them out there. I really want to focus on people who are in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. I think that the San Francisco Bay Area, we're very underserved. Where when we talk about entrepreneurship, we only talk about tech bros, and we don't talk about people who have been here for like 35 years and who like went to school here, came up here, and seen the changes, and are still trying to find their happiness in a place where, look, family of four, the poverty line is $117,000 a year. That's amazing. Damn, $100,000 a year, and you're still under the poverty line. That's tough. So, I mean, this is a place with unique challenges, and it's very hard to maintain a firm grasp on reality and still be happy. But people are doing it every day, and my only hope is to connect with people and inspire them and let them know that, first of all, you don't have to be fucking miserable in your life. You don't have to, I mean, I know people who are married to people who never loved them, who are just like, well, this was the right person to marry because it was the right social ladder. That's misery. You don't have to be miserable. You can choose happiness. You can try happiness. And this happiness can actually work with your life. You're not giving up something, you're gaining something. So that's just a happiness project in a nutshell. I think it's going to be cool. I think we're going to be in a cool venue.
Meet a lot of great people. Yeah.
Good food, good drinks, have people around, and I mean, I want to be very loosey-goosey. I want to talk to people. I want to have real conversations. And when I go into a conversation, I don't really have much of an agenda. Maybe three canned questions, and I just want them to talk, just like I did. Just run your mouth. Tell me what's on your mind. I don't care if you say shit, booty, pussy, snot, fuck, booty hole, whatever. Say whatever you want. I just want it to come from your heart. And so that's just where we're at with it. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
That wraps it up. I guess this is the first initial kickoff for the Happiness Project with Grover and myself, Scotty of